For months, all the headlines have been telling pretty much the same story. Apple is late to the AI party. But what if it's not really about being late? What if it's about refusing to play a game that, well, maybe everyone else is losing? Today, we're diving into the real story behind Apple's AI delay, an industry-wide crisis you probably haven't heard about, and a pretty radical solution that could change everything. Let's get into it.
So let's just tackle the big question right up front, the one that's on everyone's mind. Is Apple actually falling behind in the AI race? I mean, it certainly looks that way, right? Especially after they announced a major delay for one of their most anticipated AI features. But the why behind that delay? Oh, that's way more interesting than the delay itself.
And here it is, the official reason, straight from an Apple VP. The super-hyped personalized Siri just wasn't ready. The error rate was simply too high. And look, for a company that is completely obsessed with user experience, shipping a buggy product just to say they did it, that was never going to happen. This wasn't about a lack of technology. It was a crisis of quality, and it points to a much, much deeper challenge.
And that challenge is this fundamental dilemma that Apple has kind of built for itself. How in the world do you deliver powerful AI without sacrificing the user privacy that literally defines your brand? This is the tightrope they have to walk, and it forces them into a really unique strategy.
Okay, so what's really fascinating here is how it breaks down Apple's two-part approach. For simple stuff, everything happens right there on your device. It's super fast, it's totally private, and it runs on the neural engine. But there's a catch. It's limited. It can only handle about 4,000 tokens, which are like pieces of information, at once. For the more complicated jobs, your request gets sent to their private cloud. It's way more powerful, sure, but that introduces a whole new set of hurdles.
Now, what's so crucial to understand is that the Siri delay wasn't about the AI model itself. Nope, the problem was with something called app intent. Just think of it like the instruction manual that tells Siri which buttons to push inside all your different apps. The error rate was so high that Siri might just ignore you, or even worse, do the completely wrong thing. So Apple decided to wait for a whole new generation of Siri, probably in 2026, to get it right. But this one specific bug is just a symptom of a much bigger disease.
So let's zoom out for a second, because Apple's struggle is really just a microcosm of this massive systemic problem that's quietly plaguing the entire AI industry. It's a crisis of data, a crisis of trust, and a crisis of authenticity. And this slide just lays out the three core issues perfectly. First, you've got the data provenance crisis. AI companies are getting sued left and right because they honestly can't prove where their training data came from. Second, there's a content authenticity collapse. I mean, with deep fakes and AI content everywhere, it's getting almost impossible to know what's real anymore. And third, intellectual properties become untraceable, which means all the artists and creators whose work trained these models, they have no clear way to get paid for it.
So you see, this isn't just about one company's product delay. It's a foundational crisis of trust that is threatening the entire future of artificial intelligence. It's like everyone is building these incredible skyscrapers on a shaky foundation, and the cracks are really starting to show.
But what if there was another way? A proposal from a company called Honest suggests that instead of trying to patch this broken system, we need to build a new one from the ground up. They call it a third path for AI.
In a letter they sent to Tim Cook, they define this third path as one that avoids the two biggest traps of the current AI race, the huge security risks of today's devices and the mind-bogglingly expensive server farms that nobody has really figured out how to make profitable yet. It's a proposal for a completely different architecture.
The absolute core of their idea is something called the meta-infrastructure layer. Now, I know that sounds complex, but just forget about apps and models for a second. This is deeper. It's a new foundational system designed to do one thing perfectly: verify who created what and when they did it, and then track its ownership forever. It's kind of like a universal truth layer for the entire digital world.
And their solution rests on three main pillars. First, a hardware device called the content wallet, which basically acts as an unforgeable anchor for your identity as a creator. Second, every single file gets a digital DNA. Think of it like a digital birth certificate with a timestamp and a device ID. And third, a fair marketplace that works peer-to-peer, which gets rid of those giant, expensive, centralized servers.
And this QR code right here actually links to their full technical proposal and their patent portfolio, which just goes to show you the deep architectural work that's gone into this concept. This isn't just some idea, it's a fully engineered system.
And when you compare this meta infrastructure to other solutions out there, like NFTs or industry standards like C2PA, you can see just how much more comprehensive it is. I mean, just look at the rows for legal evidence and self-sovereign identity integration. The AHNIST approach is designed from the ground up to give you legally sound proof of ownership in a way that these other systems, they just can't.
So what this all really boils down to is a choice. And not just for Apple, but for the entire tech industry. It's a choice about what we want the future of AI, and really the internet itself, to be built on. It's a choice between continuing this race to the bottom, using questionable data and flawed models, or pioneering a completely new paradigm, one that's actually built on verifiable trust and true content ownership. As ANSIST puts it in their letter, this approach isn't just a feature, it's an identity. It's a chance to build a secure, resilient ecosystem that no competitor could easily copy, because it aligns so perfectly with those principles of privacy and security that Apple already claims to champion.
And that brings us to the final, critical question. The path we're on right now is filled with risks. Copyright infringement, deepfakes, a total lack of trust. So, will foresight guide companies like Apple to build a better foundation now, or are we all just going to wait until the problems of AI become way too big to ignore? The choice they make is going to define the next decade of technology.